Alright everybody, this is Web Walk episode 9. It is Monday. I don't remember the freaking date. Last week of June basically. July the 4th is Saturday. And it's friggin' hot outside. The wife's at work. My 19-year-old is off to boxing with her fiance, who they will be married this August. And my oldest daughter and my youngest daughter are out on their Monday picnic. Something that they started here a couple of weeks ago, I think, where they pack some sandwiches and snacks and pick a spot somewhere, have a picnic together. One thing I can be grateful for is all of my kids have bonded together, created good friendships that I know is going to last them for the rest of their lives. And that's not something I can say about my upbringing and my let's just say fraternal side of the family. Okay, but all that aside, it's just me tonight. And for those that think heat or rain or anything like that will stop from having a walk, nope. Now sometimes I go on my walks and I don't bring my phone. Okay, sometimes it's just nice to the wife and I just walking together and talking, which we still do once I finish recording, because we go on some pretty long walks. Alright, now that all that's aside, I did have a goal, and like I mentioned in the last video from Friday, to hit 300 subscribers for my YouTube channel by the end of the weekend, which nowhere near that. We're about 10% of that, which, hey, for a channel I guess that's only a couple weeks old, I guess that's pretty good. Everything takes time. Some of the biggest channels, the ones that I watch and follow, you know, all talked about the same, and I gotta have something that people want to watch, right? So as we go and grow and people leave comments and ideas, this will develop like anything else, you know. I just decided that I want to be more involved in what I bring to the game of the lifting and health industry for the people I'm most concerned about, the everyday people, right? The people that aren't going to dig into all the who, what, where, and why about weightlifting, programming, nutrition, and also what I'm going to talk about today, which I'll get to in a second. So, if you know anybody that can benefit, send them the channel, send them a link. If you ain't subscribed, please subscribe. Click the like buttons on these videos. Like literally, it's nothing to do either. Subscribe or click a like. And I know I watch a lot of YouTube videos and I hear that all the time, but it's true. You know, the ones I actually want to follow and I care about, it's exactly what I do. So, if you wouldn't mind, and leave some questions, get debate going, get talking amongst yourselves, you know. That's what's going to draw people to it, you know. And I am completely up for ideas, topics that you guys want to cover, questions that you have, you know. Seriously, pick my brain, and if I don't know it, I'll find it out. So what I like to do is pick through some of the claptrap that's always going on social media, mostly Instagram, because Facebook is just old and outdated as far as I'm concerned. The only stuff I post there is to show people what I'm doing somewhere else, right? And I'd given up on doing any kind of posting and arguing with people and things like that after fall of 2023. You know, I had kind of given up on a lot of stuff, but I realized that that's not who I am, that's not how I'm made up. And one of the things that keeps me going is being interactive in the fields that I'm most passionate about, that I care about. And like I've said in the very first video, and touched on in probably just about every video and will continue to do so, lifting is a part of my identity. It's a big makeup of who I am, why I'm at where I'm at, what has gotten me through a lot of bad situations in the past, is the idea that lifting is always there. It doesn't judge you. in the sense of it will tell you if you're weak or not. You know, you go to lift that bar or press that bar or whatever you're going to do, and you don't, it's judging you, it's challenging you, right? So it's those types of judgments and challenges that throughout my life forced me to want to do better. You know, if I was challenged growing up, called weak or skinny or whatever it is, I went to work trying to outdo that. Like any kind of red-blooded male, I wanted to prove myself in the field of what we considered manliness, and for me, strength. Pure, unadulterated strength in a body that matches it, right? I grew up watching all the Arnold movies, Sylvester movies, Terminator, Rocky, the Van Damme movies, Bloodsport, and even a few others. Old school Viking movies, all of it. They had dudes with muscle and were strong and kicking ass. You know, that's what I was about. So, with all that said, one of the things I wanted to pick apart and kind of make easy and maybe put at ease some of the people out there, the way they feel judged or some of the stupid stuff that's said, because you know, every story, every topic has two sides, and each side is basically trying to rip the other one down because they want you on their side, because they want clout, you know, they want followers, they want sponsors, they want all that stuff. And I don't really have any of that. I'm just a guy that cares about sharing the facts with people the best that I understand them, and I've been shown to be wrong many a time, not because I didn't try, but stuff comes along that you didn't know about. And you know, that was one of the things about keto. When we jumped into it, we had a lot of success, and we figured the success and the things that people were saying were lining up. We had the proof, when really it wasn't the type of diet we're eating. It was the fact that our calories were ridiculously low for an extended period of time, and we were training our asses off in many different ways: CrossFit, Jiu-Jitsu, Krav Maga, and lifting 2 to 3 times a week. So, you know, that's how that worked. But now I know keto is just one tool in the toolbox that people can use, but it's not sustaining. It's kind of like, you know, you can use a hammer, you know, for certain tools, but that doesn't mean that you want to use a hammer all the time, you know, because you break shit. And it's the same thing with keto or carnivore or any of that stuff. That stuff's good to get you somewhere quick, but it's not meant to be sustainable, nor is it even enjoyable. All right? So this is kind of going to wrap into what I want to talk about. The whole new peptide and GLP medicine that's so rampant all over the place, you know. And it's not necessarily that I'm going to dissect which one is the best or any of that kind of stuff in this video. You know, I'm not going to say that I'm an expert in any of those, but I do know, from my opinion and from what I see the experts saying, and with my personal experience, retatrutide, and there's a couple different ways people say it, retatrutide, most people call it RET, R-E-T, you know. Some people call it a GLP-3 because it's a triple agonist, meaning there's 3 different things that go to work in there to attach and work on 3 different molecules, if you will, I guess, different cells in the body, you know. Many things that RET do, and that's what I'm going to call it throughout this video. What I'm referring to is retatrutide, but I'm going to call it RET simply because that is a pain in the butt word to say multiple times. And just for clarification, I'm sharing with you my personal experience, my personal opinions, some of the information that I've researched, watched, read, listened to, all these different types of things, right? Currently, RET is not FDA approved. Now, I'll tell you out of the gate, I could give a rip less about the FDA, but I know that some people do, so I'm going to be truthful about it. But RET, a GLP-1, falls in the category with the Ozempics, and what's the other one that escapes my mind? It was literally just there in my brain, but these semaglutide. It falls in line with these weight loss medications, right? And the reason, we came across, we were recommended by a friend last year to try RET. Now, I didn't believe it, and at first, when I was told, man, it helps you lose weight really fast, suppresses appetite, and spares muscle and energy. And I thought, nah, been that route, okay? But it's the truth, okay? We are running probably, I think, our third cycle of RET. We've used it for different purposes. I literally just finished my cycle. I was on it for about 10 weeks this time around. And I can tell you straight up that it works, okay? It does what it says it's supposed to do, what you hear people talking about. The already hundreds of thousands of people and bodybuilders, which is where I found out about it, are using it. The stuff works, okay? And the way I took it, insulin needle, and took varying milligrams or IUs twice a week. You increase as you go, depending upon what your goal is and how quick you want to get there. But several of the things that it does: suppresses appetite, slows down your digestive tract, basically slows down the process of your food being digested, which means it stays in the body longer, the stomach, etc., which keeps you fuller longer, which also helps you not be hungry. It also will minimize what you can actually eat, depending upon how much you take, all right? Which all these things work, but the problem with the Ozempics and the semaglutides and all those is what they would do is suppress the appetite, but didn't do anything to protect muscle, release fat cells for energy, and help in the area of glucagon and things like that for energy storage, right? Because that's what your body does with glucose. It'll store it where it needs it for energy purposes. The body will draw from it as it needs it, depending upon your activity, and the rest, if there's some left over, and that's the problem, it will store as fat, okay? What this does is just goes right after the adipose tissue, which is your fat, breaks it down, releases it, makes the body use it for energy, okay? So you're suppressing your appetite, you're slowing down your digestion, which leaves you fuller longer. The body is using, instead of initially carbohydrates for energy, it's breaking down fat and letting it be burnt also, which is exactly what you want to happen when you're trying to lose weight, is burn fat storage, right? You take in the amount of carbs you need for a day to give you the energy that you need, but also you are breaking up stored fat on the body so that it can be used for energy. And the harder you train, the more cardio you do, the way you restrict your calories, those type of things all have to do with attaining the goal that you have of losing body fat. I'm going to say on the outset, what people need to get out of their brain, and don't get me wrong, the scale and weight is a good measurement, because not everybody's going to get their body fat checked once a week, okay? But the number isn't necessarily what is priority. It's the amount of body fat you have on you, all right? A 220-pound man with only 10 to 14% body fat is far healthier than a 220-pound man or a 200-pound man that's at a 25% or above, even 22% and above body fat. I'm of the mind now that men shouldn't be getting over 18% body fat. And even for those, I'm starting to find out in the world of bodybuilding and health that 18%, if you're trying to put on size to gain muscle, which you're going to accumulate some body fat, that's just all there is to it, because you have to eat more, you have to eat in a surplus. Again, that's not what this video is about. But the higher your body fat percentage gets, when your goal is to up it for a little while and then bring it back down to get ready for a competition, or a summer shred, whatever it is that you like to do, the higher it is, the harder it is, and the longer you have to diet. And that's one of the things the wife and I are doing this year with this, mock prep competition. So we're doing everything a bodybuilder would do, except we're actually not getting on stage this time, as we're stripping down as much body fat as we can to see what kind of muscle tissue we actually have. My goal is to hit a 9%, which we think the body weight will have to be right around 185, 190, the way things are looking. And my wife, her goal was to get to about a 14% body fat, because females need to have more body fat on them for hormonal reasons, okay? So a female should never get down to a single digit. It's not healthy, even for stage. Again, this is what the experts are telling us. I'm just relaying what I hear. Now, I know the biggest part of my crowd here and the people that might watch these videos are not necessarily bodybuilders yet, okay? But maybe you're going to want to try a soap someday when I start documenting our actual progress when we begin our off-season phase here, which will probably be end of July, beginning of August. That's the goal that we're giving ourselves, to be down to where we need to be as far as body fat. We're going to hit a maintenance phase, so our calories will go up slightly. That's another thing too, when you start adding calories back in, you want to take it easy. Just because it's time to start eating again does not mean you just go crazy, hog wild. Basically what it is you're eating the same type of foods you've been eating during your cut. You just get to eat more of it, right? And I'm going to do a daily what do we eat video here within a week or so, maybe even this weekend, because I have a little time with a 4-day weekend for the holiday, okay? But our daily foods consist of fat-free yogurt, Greek yogurt, ground chicken, 97.3 basically ground sirloin, beef, rice, potatoes, vegetables, fruit, granola, honey, and really the only supplement as far as food that we're using is Fairlife or Core Power protein drinks, but those are actual milk, right? There isn't necessarily anything whey or added to it. It's just the way they process it, that the carbs can be lower, fat lower, and a little bit of higher protein per serving. So instead of your typical 8 grams of protein for 8 ounces, a serving of Fairlife, which is, if you buy the little bottles, it's 11 ounces. It's 30 grams per 11 ounces. So it's quite a bit more, right? That's basically, with just a few variations here and there, sourdough bread, if we have bread, homemade sourdough bread. And that's for, the bacteria and different things like that to help with gut health. The fermentation in the bread helps with gut health, so that's why we do that. Yeah, so that's basically in a nutshell what we eat every single day. And then we pick our sauces that we like to put on our chicken, rice, things like that. But literally everything gets measured. Yesterday I cooked up about 3 pounds of chicken. I made a bunch of 6 ounce ground chicken patties, baked them all in the oven, and that's got the wife and I set as far as the ground chicken is concerned. We grab one, throw it in our meal prep container, put 150 grams of rice for myself for that meal, and off to the races. Baked beans is another thing that we use. I knew there was a couple things I was forgetting, but basically, guys, we stick to the same food, right? And I know I'm kind of getting off the trail here, but this all kinds of wraps into what we do on this cut, and that's why we're using RET this time, is it helps suppress the appetite and all the other things that it helps with insulin sensitivity, which, if you don't really understand what that is, your insulin gets released to carry nutrients, mostly glucose, carry it around to the body, and the better your insulin sensitivity is, the better those nutrients are going to get carried to the body where they need them, and the less gets stored as fat, okay? You don't want too much storage. You want to use the nutrients you're putting into your body, okay? The body will store what it needs based upon what you're putting your body through, which is why we do the 10 to 15,000 steps a day, the training 4 times a day, and cardio 3 times per week. And the cardio is basically just 15 to 30 minutes, depending, at just a low steady state where we keep the heart rate at about 130 beats per minute. It might go up or down a little bit, but that's basically where we try to keep it. All right, and the RET helps us sustain that type of activity while at the same time having a very low calorie count for the amount of activity that we do. When we started this cut with Coach Will, I had myself, since the beginning of March, at about 2,400 calories a day. He bumped me up to 2,650 with 330 of those calories being from carbs. Now, that's the highest I've ever run my carbs on purpose daily since forever. Okay, one thing that keto did to me, even now that I know better, and we did keto, started in 2017, stopped doing it in about 2019. The thing that keto did to me is it made me fearful of carbs, right? And that's still something that I'm getting over it now and enjoying carbs again, but still the idea is there. It's like, I can't have carbs too high. Well, here he goes and he puts my carb intake at 330 grams a day. Protein was at about 190, which I've always been in the mindset. Protein's got to be super, super high. Carbs low, and fat even lower, right? Well, he changed all that, made lifting more enjoyable, started losing weight almost out of the gate, quicker than what I was, because my body wasn't trying to fight me because my calories were too low, and the type of working out we were doing, my body was wanting to fight against losing weight at a good rate. So when we bumped the calories up to 2,650, started on the RET at 1 milligram per week, which is on an insulin syringe that would have been 10 IU, split between 2 shots a week. So 5 IU per shot twice a week, 10 IU, 1 milligram. All right. And then as time when I kept it at that for probably, that started mid-March, kept it at 2,650 calories and the RET at 1 milligram per week or 10 IU per week. Did everything he wanted us to do. Within 2 weeks I was already down 4 pounds, which blew my mind that I could have my calories at 2,650, my carbs at 330, fat was at 60, right around there, and protein was at 190. And that's where I kept everything and just rolled with it. And I stayed at those ratios for a good 9 weeks, I think, maybe even 10. And got down to, started at 240, got down to 220, maybe 217, something like that, and decided, okay, I'm going to cut my calories to 25. So I only dropped them 150. Now, the old web would have said, we need to crash it right out, take it down to 2,100 out of the gate, right? I said, no, I'm going to trust the process. I'm going to trust what Coach Will is telling us. And, you know, I might know a lot about programming, the basics about nutrition and things like that, but it takes a third party to tell you how it is and kind of get your mindset straight. That's why having a coach is important. But anyways, then I decided to cut them back to 25. I ran that for probably another month, still losing weight. And then we're getting closer to what we consider our competition day, which I'm looking at the wedding as being the competition day. So I dropped my calories to 2,400. I upped my RET dosage to 3 milligrams a week, which would have been 1.5 IU shots twice a week. Okay, ran that for a few weeks. Then I hear about, 2 weeks ago, I lowered my calories. 3 weeks ago, I lowered them to 2,300. Then last week, I lowered to 2,200. My RET dosage for just 2 weeks was at about 5 IU per week, split into 2. I just ended my RET cycle. My last RET shot was Sunday or Saturday, something like that. My calories are sitting at 2200, and my weight as of yesterday morning was 198.6. I would say that's pretty successful. I have not been under 200 pounds since we did keto back in 2017. I got my weight down. By the end of summer I was at 196, but I had literally hardly any muscle because I wasn't training to be a bodybuilder. Was eating no carbs, so I was constantly looking flat. You need those carbs to hold water, to have the muscles full of water and energy storage and that type of thing. Yeah, my body kicked into ketosis and was using fat for energy. It had to, but I crashed out after 10 weeks. Lost 50 pounds in 10 weeks, not healthy. You're talking 5 pounds a week basically. And I remember just being on a job site, was doing some hand digging, and just crashed right out. Brain fog had been bothering me for a couple weeks. Anyways, that's another long story. But to get back to my main point, you know, the RET was successful, has been successful last year. We weren't competing for bodybuilding, weren't trying to. We were just losing weight, changed the way we worked out to a bodybuilding type, power building style. I got down to 217 last year by August. And then the holidays come around, and you know, wasn't being disciplined, and like I've talked before, October is a hard month for us. And the weight crept back up after Christmas. In January I was right back at about 239, and I knew, okay, this is going to be a yearly thing if I don't get this under control. My body cannot, my health does not want to be at 240 pounds with a 30% body fat. It just doesn't want to do it. It'll do it, but my blood pressure's up, my hematocrit was up, my blood sugar, all these types of things, right? All these things are up, and none of that's good for a guy my age especially. So it's like, okay, it's time to take things into control again. So by the end of January, beginning of February, we started doing our own thing, and then I was losing weight, like I said, when I had my calories at 2400, but it was just really slow process. And something, I just got an itch saying I gotta have a goal, right? I got to have a goal. And the goal became, what can I do that's not gonna kill my joints, make me hate lifting, feel miserable, be sore all the time, risking injury? And it was bodybuilding. But I knew in my heart and mind the only thing keeping me from wanting to do bodybuilding was the cutting phase, the 16 to 20 week prep, where your calories are slowly taken down week by week to get you ready to stand on stage. So I decided, am I going to just let hard things stop me from having a goal? Yeah. So I got to be hungry, you know, and you're only really hungry towards the last 8 weeks or so. And that's basically how this has been, this mock competition, mock prep. And I'm not even really starving. I'm hungry, don't get me wrong. I'd rather be eating right now with my calories at 2200, but the RET helps that in the brain too. It quiets the what they call the food noise, you know, which basically is just hunger, and all you can do is think about eating. And even in the state I'm in right now, I'm not constantly thinking, I'm not feigning. There's times, you know, I'll wake up 2 o'clock in the morning to go to the bathroom, I'm standing in the kitchen thinking, one cookie or whatever's it's not gonna hurt me. And true, it won't. And I'm going to be honest, there's a couple times where I gave in, but I knew my calories are already low for that day. But I also started saying, you know what, you should have ate what you should have ate during the day. Punish myself at night for not doing what I should have done during the day. So I'm not going to let myself have a treat at night just because, right? So, long way around the barn to kind of talk about what RET does, what it is, why we use it. Here's the point of my video tonight. This idea that it's considered cheating to be on a GLP-1 to help you with weight loss is ridiculous. And I don't want any of you that see this to come up to that conclusion that you're cheating and that you don't deserve to have this. Basically, RET, as far as I'm concerned, is what they would call a miracle drug, right? You know, They want to talk about side effects and things like that, but literally the only real side effects that people have can be nausea, which goes away after a while after you use it. I don't experience that. Constipation, due to the fact that your digestion and everything's slowing down, but even that subsides. Bowel movements are pretty much one a day, which is very unusual for me, the way I used to eat. And everything that goes along with that, right? So you have all this benefit that comes from using ret. And then you want these people who tell you you need to suffer. You need to experience the hardship. And I say bull. Number one, life's hard enough, okay? And these people that say that don't know some of the suffering that people have been through. Now, outside of weight loss, me and my wife have suffered tremendously the last couple of years. And I mean tremendously with the losses that we've had. Okay? One major significant loss. And I've already talked about that in a different video, so I won't here. So life is suffering enough, right? Number two, the way our society is built, you literally cannot walk into a store, any kind of store, without a damn candy aisle right in your face. Okay? Every other commercial is food, and it's all junk food and garbage food. And they've literally built a system where it's almost impossible to eat clean, wholesome, and at a good price, right? Garbage food is so cheap and inexpensive. Well, everything's expensive right now, even the garbage food. But with that being said, let's be honest, good food is more expensive than anything. It has been for a long time, and it's ridiculous. So you have people who, and we live in a very sedentary society. Our jobs are so modernized. The majority of people aren't out there doing physical hardcore labor, and even the laborers in the pipeline industry, which is my expertise, are not laboring like we did 30 years ago, right? You have vac machines out there replacing shovels for the most part. Why do you think you see overweight pipeliners, right? Even young ones. Is because they might have to go at it for digging for about a half an hour, but it's the same movement, and it's not really burning any fat for fuel because the guys are doing the same thing every day. They're eating the same garbage foods every day. They're drinking the same amount of alcohol, whatever they do, or smoking the cigarettes, getting crappy sleep, doing what they do on the weekends, all these things that are very unhealthy lifestyle. The body adapts to exactly what you put it through. So it's going to store everything it wants to store because you're not making any demands on it, because your life that you're living is sedentary. It's just the truth of the matter. And to be unsedentary in our daily jobs, we have to get out there and do cardio, lift weights. We have to do all these things. People say, well, our forefathers didn't do that. Yeah, and they were out farming, livestock, gardening. Everything they did was manual. It was hard. They did not have the availability of food. The food they did have, they made and grew themselves, had to store it for hard seasons, so they rationed it. All these different types of things. They didn't get to sit down and have a half-gallon of ice cream while they watched an hour Netflix show, and then get up and wash it down with potato chips and oatmeal cream pies, and guzzle down 2 liters of Coke. They didn't have all that. So you put on the fact that they were way more active than we are. Their food sources were way more cleaner, way more leaner, and way more sparse. Okay? And the same thing with their kids. They didn't just get, if they had a treat, it was once a month. Right? You're going to be lean when you live like that. We don't have that in this world, this country anymore. So it's necessary to have a weight room and cardio and all these other things be part of your life if you want to live a long, healthy life. Number two, some people have been brought up and raised on garbage food, and we've had a couple of kids that struggled with it ourselves, right? And even we did for a long time. But our kids have always watched us train and try to do the best. My point being with all of this is that it is okay to use something that's been developed to help you get a head start on what you're trying to do. Don't let anybody tell you any different, okay? It's not cheating. Unless you're in a competition that says you're not supposed to use it. But who's getting in a competition for losing weight that says you can't use one of these GLP-1s? And if you do, hey, more power to you. If you want to do it the old school way and gut it out and go through the suffering because to you it's building character, hey, I support it because it's what you want to do. What I don't support is people on social media or in your community or whatever it is dogging on you, ragging on you, putting you down for using a medicine that's been developed that has been helping millions of people already. Yeah, and it's helping them not even being FDA approved yet. All right? I'm not talking about doing anything illegal. Okay? There's legal ways to sell it. That's a whole nother, I'm not going to get into the government stuff. But I don't want people thinking that they are in the wrong or being immoral or cheating because they're using a tool to help them gain their goal, okay? To get to their end result. It's completely okay. We personally have helped 8 people, 8 or maybe 9 people now, and there will be more, how to properly use and program using retatrutide, RET, this new GLP-1 that's better than all of them, okay? And every one of them that have been on it have had success, and I'm talking losing a lot of weight. Some of them over 30 pounds, which is a lot of weight, okay? So it's okay. It's okay to use it. You don't need to let anybody shame you, okay? Now, what I do want to touch on, and this is extremely important, okay? And I'll try and wrap this up. Using this miracle drug, this new medicine, and the word drug, don't let it scare you, not all drugs are bad, okay? Using this is not going to make up for a crappy lifestyle, okay? The reason I support using this is because it will allow you, once the food noise is quieted down and you can make rational decisions and you can learn to say no to the things that put you where you are, right? And develop disciplined habits, good meal plans, good food sources. You'll find ways, okay? You'll go out of your way because you'll see your body changing, you're healthier, you're able to drop blood pressure medications and cholesterol medications and all this other garbage that they got you on. See, that's what the medical system here does, right? Is they don't try and fix a problem necessarily. They just try and help you to last longer while you have the problem. Because the longer they can keep you on their stuff, the more they can line their pockets, okay? And that's what's so crooked about it. I said it before, I'll say it again, it's true. The percentage might be a little bit off, but 90% of the medical conditions that people face in this nation can be fixed by losing weight. It's just the way that it is. I literally had a doctor tell me to my face, you know, a doctor that gives prescriptions and everything like that, knows that the system's rigged, okay? So that's how you know I'm not just talking out of my ass. You have people in the medical field basically saying this, okay? The medical system is rigged, but by losing weight, you can drop medications and increase your lifespan, your quality of life, your composition, your strength, your longevity, your mental fortitude, all of it can all be benefited by losing weight. And what this thing does, this RET, what it does is help get you there. But you have got to develop discipline. You know, I've touched on that topic many times throughout these last 9 videos. Discipline's the only thing that's going to get you through. Not me motivating you through motivational speeches, not watching motivational videos, which I still love to watch a lot of them. It's discipline. You have to tell yourself no. You have to say, I'm not going to do the very same thing that put me in the condition that I worked my ass off so hard to get out of. That's what it takes, ladies and gentlemen, is you have got to develop discipline in every area of your life. Set up yourself for success. If going to certain stores makes it tempting for you, don't go to those stores. order everything you need. I mean, hell, you can have Amazon deliver anything same day, for crying out loud. It's almost like they know what you're going to order before you order it, which is kind of scary at times. There's no reason that you have to go to any store. If you can't get it ordered, ask somebody to go to the store for you. If you thought hard enough, there's always a way. Literally, yet I've yet to find a reason, a good reason, why anybody can't get themselves into shape. There's just, I'm not talking about physical things that are making it slower for you, but even that, even a bedridden person can make choices that will help them to lose weight, okay? Help them to get in as good a shape as you can being bedridden. There are. It's just, it's up here. It's the mental game. It's the discipline that needed. It's some good people around you that will help you stick to your goals, that support you, that won't tempt you to go in the wrong direction, to give in anytime your mind tells you to give in, okay? The mind will quit way before the body does. You have to tell your mind, we're going to keep going. The body will follow, okay? So, I'm going to wrap up. Number one, the name of the medicine is retatrutide. If anybody has questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. Okay. Number two, stop listening to all the noise, all these people telling you that it's cheating, you shouldn't use it, this, that, and the other thing. It's okay, use it. It's a good tool. It's a good God-given tool, a creation, and there's probably going to be even better ones that come out in the future that help even more. I truly think we are on the edge of a lot of new medicines coming out that'll be positives, that help people, with muscle mass and weight loss and these different types of things to get them to where they're going, right? Not something that you have to stay on for the rest of your life. That's the goal. Number two, don't let anybody shame you into not using it. If you want to use it, it's completely fine. We're using it, okay? And number three, and finally, discipline. You have to have discipline to be successful. No matter how much of anything that you take to get you to where you want to go, if you don't have the discipline to change your lifestyle, to keep you there and to keep you from going back to where you came from, you're just going to continue the vicious cycle you've always been on. You're going to be depressed, which is going to cause you to gain even more weight because it raises cortisol, it ruins your sleep, and there's so many things that are affected by having a lack of discipline in your life, okay? It feels tremendously better, mentally, physically, emotionally, to get into shape, to know you worked your ass off to get into shape, and to continue to develop good habits to keep you in shape. It's not too late. I don't care how old you are. It's not too late. There's something that can be done. You just need somebody to help you do it. If you choose us, we can help you with all of this. If you already know people or you just want to do it yourself, you just need a little information, we can help you with that too. So with all that, guys, good talk tonight. It's starting to cool off a little bit and it feels better. So I'm going to put my camera away. I'm going to enjoy the rest of my walk. Probably got about another hour and a half or so to go. Talk to you guys on the next one.